Okay, your
Thank you for
audio is
warning
being
us.
broadcast, right?
Hot mic.
Very good. Very good.
Right.
Hot mic. I like that.
Right.
Okay, Twitch has accepted the stream. Now we're going to see if YouTube accepts it. YouTube has accepted the stream.
Well,
Now we're going to see if Facebook accepts it. Facebook has accepted the stream.
unanimous acceptance in Jesus' name. Thank you.
Can
Okay,
happen.
so
Dream
are
come
you ready
true.
to start the show, Vicky?
Yes.
Do you have the clapper there?
No, I don't.
Clap
It
on.
Where
used
is
to
it?
be right in front of you. Did somebody move it?
Yeah.
I didn't touch anything.
Somebody, yeah.
So somebody moved it.
Somebody
And
did.
where did they put it?
Where would they see it? Well, you want me to just clap? I can do that.
Put papers on top of it, maybe?
No,
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 no clappers here. That's my pen.
no.
Okay, so nobody
Yeah,
put
we
the
looked all through there.
clapper is now missing. Oh well, you have to clap your hands.
I'll clap my hands. That's all right.
Clap on.
Okay.
Do you know where the silver switch is? It says on the air.
Yep.
Okay, so step one would be for you to flip the switch.
Flip
And
this
then wait
switch.
for the red light to come on. Is it on?
It's on.
Okay, so give it a few seconds and clap your hands and you're on the air.
Thank you. Welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center, being recorded here at Think Twice Radio in the home of the future, also the home of our producer and friend Richard Wicca. Thanks, Richard. And thank you to our friends at Buff State, Buffalo's original alternative radio station, 91.3 FM, Buff State. So thank you, Buff State. And when I'm thinking of thankfulness, I think of our indigenous friends who, despite being attempted the genocide that was attempted on them and all the stolen land and oppression that they have received and violence that they have been subject to, they are still thankful and start everything with thankfulness, remembering and thanking Mother Earth for giving us everything we need, for the living waters that give us so much beauty and really life itself, and all of the creatures, from small to the smallest to the largest, from swimming to crawling, four-legged and flying creatures, and then all the different aspects of this beautiful world that we're in, the trees that give us the air we breathe, and all the plant life, and the sun and the moon and the stars. So we're grateful to all of that. And so then when they say that, then they just say Yahweh.
Yahweh.
And people
Yahweh.
say no.
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 Thank you. So it's a lot like Ashe.
Uh-huh.
And so we're excited about this show. It's about a very important local issue, and it's basically no new jail. So you know what we're going to be saying, but it's back to helping people understand the why and how of it, what's going on, how people can help. And I'm very thrilled with this wonderful group we have here to talk about it. So I'll just go around and what I see. First of all, Jerome Wright. Jerome is the Erie County Legislature's representative on the on the Correction Specialist Advisory Board.
Yes.
Welcome, Jerome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And Monica Lynch. Monica is out in front. Well, first of all, she is working with the Western New York Peace Center on all the criminal justice, especially jail issues, and is out in front of the Erie County Holding Center virtually every Wednesday 4 to 5. Monica, welcome.
Thank you.
And I mean, we'll talk about your brother. Her brother died in just even, 15 hours or something crazy?
Less than 12.
Less than 12 hours in the Erie County Holding Center. More to follow there. So thank you so much, Monica, for being here and for all your work on that. And then we have Chuck Culhane, who's out there with her every Wednesday And Chuck has been working with the Western New York Peace Center for many, many years on the criminal justice issues, and in particular, especially prisoners' rights. And we're grateful to have you here, Chuck.
Thank you.
And lastly, Ronald Benn. Ronald Benn. I got there. So Ronald, welcome, Ronald. Ronald Benn. Thank you, Ronald. And thank you. I want to say we just, are so grateful that you're here with a wealth of, I don't want to call it a wealth, a horror basket of experience, which means 37 years of being what Jalil Muntakim has reminded us to call being an incarcerated worker. So all that time that they're giving you pennies, pittance for all the work that you did over 37 years of being incarcerated. Welcome for coming. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
So in this discussion, when we're talking about no new jail, I think if we want to, we'll get into some of the issues about it, but maybe, if we just go around it with the values that we want to uphold in this conversation, the values that you think of when you think about whether we want a jail or a new jail or not. So let's just go, Monica. We'll just go around the table, because actually it looks slightly different than what people might see if they are watching on a video. But anyway, we'll also be on radio. So anyway, Monica, we'll just go around.
Well, I don't feel that a new jail is needed, and especially not for $250 million. The jail that's been there, it has been, deplorable conditions for more than 2 decades. Therefore, every year the county is giving out money to the sheriff department, and they're not utilizing it the right way. And the people need to know that it's not being utilized the right way. Don't just vote them in the office and give them the money and say, do as you will, buy new vehicles or something like that, and then turn around and say, well, I need a new building because this one is not in, livable conditions. The people are still living there.
Right.
They haven't been placed somewhere else. They're still there.
So would you say accountability is something that you want to uphold?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
That's why we're out there
Yeah.
every Wednesday for accountability.
Yep.
The Sheriff Howard didn't give it. Everybody thought, a new sheriff was coming to town. Well, when he left office December 31st, he didn't leave the office. He just left the position. He still was getting paid from the Erie County Sheriff Department, and he was getting 3 incomes. He was getting his retirement pay. The sheriff paid for the gun department permits and everything.
Right.
Then he had his new position out there at South of Wales. So it's just people have to really come out and show that they care about their own environment, their own community, and, just give their input. Don't wait for everybody else to do all the legwork.
Right. So that's another thing, getting involved. So we'll definitely be talking more about that. Jerome?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for this opportunity, because most of the time the narrative is controlled by the powers that be, and that would be the sheriff's office and them. So it's good that we get a chance to talk to the community and others to let them know from our perspective what this is about. No new jail is about communities, not cages. Treatment, not jails.
Yes.
It's about doing the things that our community need. Now, will I tell you that I've been in that holding center myself, both as an incarcerated individual and as a person who works in there? Yes. Are there conditions that need repair? There's conditions that, as Monica said, have been needing repair for the past 2 decades. And I don't know why they didn't repair it before now.
Right.
Because the cost wouldn't be as exorbitant if they did it a couple of years ago or decades ago than it would be now. But that's another story. The fact of the matter is, we care about our community. All members of our community. So we want those conditions to be better down there, and we've been fighting for them to be better. But if we've been thwarted from fighting them to get better, what makes you and us believe that by putting a brand new building together, that all of a sudden things are going to fall in place? That is like the most irrational thing in the world that I could think of. I am one of my jobs is as a co-director of the HALT Solitary campaign. HALT was
Right.
passed almost 2 years ago, and they have never implemented it. And they're doing everything to subvert it, try to find loopholes. So you're telling me that a jail who's going to be this great program, this new 21st century version of jails, how you gonna make that when you haven't taken care of this 19th century version of jail that you have here now? That has been too many deaths. There have been too many lawsuits. There have been too many officers and other civilians caught with contraband. There have been too much oppression of the population that's in there and their families. So why would we want to subject our families to that just for air conditioning?
So communities, not cages.
Treatment, not jails.
And yes, treatment, not
Over
jails.
57,
Right.
more than half of the population, per the sheriff's department's numbers, have some form of mental illness. Now listen to this.
Right.
That's 57% that they have documented. These are people who get medication, psychotropic medication.
Right.
We're not talking about the other people in there who
Right.
knows what that number is,
Well,
who all have some form of mental illness that don't require medication, not getting it, or not have been formally diagnosed.
right,
So we're talking about maybe 2/3 of the population. Jail is not a mental health institution.
Right. Tell it. So, thank you so much. So, community, not cages, and treatment, not jails. Yes. What about you, Ronald?
Well, basically, trust and placing people, people before, projects. People before
Right.
money, people before, certain things that have to
Yes.
be done. They if it's a structure, they quick to give money for that. But what about the homeless people? What about people like you said, mental
Right.
illness? Jail, you can't get killed in jail. You know what I'm saying? And so they got these two things mixed up, the way the situation is going. You know what I'm saying? People is messed up. Then you want to create another jail?
Right. No, you're so right. People not profits. Profits is big on this, and people not projects. So, and paying attention to the people.
Exactly.
And actually, it's very interesting to me that you said trust, because trust as a question. So it means, have we seen behavior that should tell us that we should be having trust?
Well,
right.
And I'm going to say
No.
Well,
trust
that you'll do the right thing. Trust that,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, the promises that you made to get in office, that you're going to, maintain the promises. You know
and
what
so
I'm saying?
far, we haven't seen that. Right. So that would be
Can
another
I just
big-
add one thing? With he said something that really important. People over profits, people over property. They care more about the property, the building,
right.
than the people.
Right.
And they're going to try to tell you they care about the people because the building is new. But if you're bringing the same culture that oppressed, murdered, and tortured
Right.
people over here, that same thing is going to be over
Right.
there.
No, so that is all of that. So true. Chuck, what would you want to offer up as, some principles or values that you want us to think of in this conversation?
Well, when I first heard about it, I thought it was just a distraction to get people's minds away from what happened to Sean Reardon back in July or June,
Right.
where looks like he got beat up and then died on his 30th birthday.
Was it actually right on his birthday?
Well, it was
Well,
right
his
before his
right
birthday,
right
but
before
she
his
had
birthday.
to put him to sleep on
Right.
his birthday,
Oh, right,
which is
right,
terrible.
right. That's,
Yeah, his mother kept him on life
Terrible.
support until
Yeah.
his birthday, his 30th
Yeah.
birthday. And I never met her, but I'm sure, that it's heartbreaking for any parent
Of
or
course.
relative, sister,
Yeah.
Right.
of people who die there.
Yeah.
Especially 44 years old. Connell was 44.
Right.
This kid was like 30 years old.
Young
Right.
people.
One of the things that disturbed me, though, when I saw that they were really going to go for it, was that he was calling for 1,500 beds. The current population of the two jails combined is now 800. So I'm thinking, well, what are you expecting, a crime wave? Or you're gonna
We're going to manufacture
Yeah,
one.
put
Yeah. Well, you're gonna.
Let me not make that comment that I'm. Well, because white collar crime, if they went after some white collar crime, but because the crime wave is not happening.
But if they build those cages, or whatever, even if they
Right.
put nice names on pods or whatever, they're going to have people coming in there, filling them up,
Right.
or renting them out for immigration detainees and stuff like that. I mean, that's really disturbing.
Yes.
And as Jerome pointed out in the editorial, in the phase now of decarceration going on
right.
around the country,
Right.
he's looking to expand on the on people confined.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
It doesn't make sense
And
at
it's
all.
such a huge waste of money.
So,
yeah.
that,
With the new bill that's passed, they like diluted the law about bail. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
that's a good opportunity. They diluted. Now they get this jail and it's only Hampton now. They want a 1,500
Yes.
bed.
Yeah.
So all right. So where you gonna get them 700 from?
Well, he
Well,
said
and
that the sheriff did say live that he believed that the reason they need 1,500 because he knew that bail reform was going to be repealed, which means people who were not being held now were going to be held at some time in the very
He
near
said that,
future.
huh?
well, first
Yes,
of
he
all,
said
They're gonna have incentives to do that.
actually, and so what I like to say is, first of all, it's sort of like, if you build it, they will
come. Exactly.
If you build it, they'll
We will
be
make
haul-
sure we
they'll,
get some.
they'll haul people in. They'll continue trying to what do I want to say? Retrograde the bail law, the improvements, lose all the improvements, which have been clearly shown to, in a broad way, have not had any detrimental effects. There might have been an instance or two, so they claim, where there's still enough discretion that if somebody they're really worried,
Yes.
that but it's very clear that it is monetarily it's incarcerating people for poverty.
They want to go back
because they
to the
can't
old ways.
afford.
That's all.
Right.
Where if you know what I'm saying, they know you can't even get $200, they give you $1,000 bail. You know what I'm saying? Stuff
Right.
like that. This is just
So-
what they do.
so
That's what
then
they were
this
doing
is
in
what
the
they-
past.
and
that was the purpose of them passing the bail law.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to give
Right.
people, you know what I'm saying, to really actually go by the law as you stated. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
But that's how they've been doing for a long time. They always do that.
So one thing I want to bring up. So I felt so charged up, and until I really realized how much we still have to go, how far we have to go. But we did have a great victory, which was a small, or as Nan Haynes put it, progress. That when we came to the Erie County Legislature, and there were some 50, per the newspaper, at least 50 people there to say no new jail, and to say, they had put it in the budget to put, $2.5 million in for a feasibility study, site acquisition, and initial planning costs. Well, so you mean you're asking a question?
There's
I'm
no
not
question.
asking a question. You want to
Move forward.
so we're just going to buy the property. It's feasible because we want to do it, so we're doing it. And so what we got in there, even though they said, I think they might have said needs assessment and feasibility
Right,
study.
that's what it's now.
But the needs assessment is huge because
Yes.
back to what we said, we need, and as Chuck was saying to me, group homes. We need. I'm a qualified clinical social worker, just by the way. We need group homes. We need, treatment facilities. We need mental health help for people. We need lots of things. We need substance
We need
abuse
help for the
programs.
homeless.
We need help for the homeless. We need housing for people. We need
help for the people that's in the homes because the community doesn't have resources.
Right.
But you're willing to take $250 million of community resources
So-
and put it into a building,
Yeah, one
a jail.
building.
And let me tell you something. Think about that number, $250 million. That's the same amount of money they took from the community to pay for that stadium. $250 million. So they're getting ready to take $500 million from our community to oppress us and to entertain themselves.
Right. Well, I just want to use the maybe you. I love this concept, but I just think opportunity cost. That's what it's an economic concept. They talk about opportunity cost is the cost of the thing that you would have done. So the opportunity cost of going to this movie when you're, is the not going to that movie, or doing this thing is not doing that, or buying this means not buying that. So first of all, the size, back to as Chuck said, is such a big problem when everyone knows that we need to be decarcerating people and giving people help and treatment and caring for community needs. So the opportunity cost of building a new jail of any size, whatever size, is all the other things that you might have done with the money. So there's other things that people can do, like, the building can be remodeled and put the money into the community programs.
Yes.
That's why needs assessment.
Right.
So if anybody, I want to really hand it to Jerome, who was our spokesperson, the community spokesperson at that meeting.
And I'm glad you say that. I don't want people to misconstrue that I was a representative of the community, for the community, and as a representative for the legislator. Being on the advisory board, I am supposed to be the person who advises both the legislature and the jail on what's best for the community. So I was doing my job for the community. It wasn't my personal stake in that, although I do have one. So I just want to make that clear, because there's all type of suppositions out there now. I work for the community. I work for the legislature. I did my job in bringing to the legislature the reasons why the community felt that we didn't need a new facility, that there were other alternatives, like refurbishing or refitting one of the present 2 facilities we have, or doing or maybe decarcerating more. Let's take that money, build a place for people who are mentally ill. If you take 57% of the population out of that jail, we're down to 400 people, 300 people.
Right.
We don't need a bigger building when we can get them out. And then if we get the people out who have drug and alcohol issues into treatment and rehabilitation centers, you're talking about a jail with maybe 150 people in it, which means we don't need a bigger jail. We need to break down the one we got and take that and use it for something else. But we don't need to build a new jail. We need housing. We got people sleeping on the streets in a city that weather is some of the worst in the country. This is not Southern California.
No.
We got people dying from hypothermia, sleeping under bridges and on corners, in the bus stops where it's not fully enclosed, dying there because we don't have adequate, affordable housing.
Well, we're just going back to the blizzard.
Yes.
Go back to the blizzard, and that
because it goes back to people. It goes back to people over property and projects and other things.
Right.
'Cause let me say, people who talk about the looting that happened during that blizzard, well, you know what? That's because in our community, looting is not a crime. It is a way of retribution, because you value this property, this merchandise, these tangible things, these inanimate things over the human beings.
Right.
And so they get angry, and that I'm not encouraging that. I'm not even saying it's right.
Of course you're not.
But the Aristotle said that poverty is the parent to both crime and rebellion.
Right.
If we don't fix the poverty problem in our community, then the crime is going to be what it is. So if you want to put that money somewhere, put that money away to excise poverty, then you won't have people going to jail.
$250 million. Spend $50 million on refurbishing the holding center.
Yes.
But it costs more to incarcerate a person than to house a person. If if you look at it, the wages and stuff like that, you look at it.
Right.
The building the for people who can have sanctuary where people can live without the thought of getting put out and stuff like that.
Look,
$250
million.
Go ahead.
For one building. Do you know how many buildings that we could build in the city? How many houses? Single, affordable houses.
Yeah. So you know what? Can we go to one other thing? And I definitely want then to hear some personal stories too about people who know what's going on inside. Monica, I want you to speak into. But first, I just want to ask to add in for you to talk, Jerome, about what happened with your job.
Yeah.
So I think that people need to know that too. 'Cause
Okay,
that's
yes,
another sign
sure.
of wrongdoing.
It's a sign of
part
wrongdoers.
of
It's a sign of a lot of the issues that when you say you want to build a new jail and change the culture, you don't make moves like that that show that the status quo is the same. So, I was employed. I was employed at Peace Prince, doing work in the jail. I was running the MAN program as part of Project Blue. I was going in, meeting with the guys as part of HALT.
Right.
And now, the HALT programming wasn't running the way it was supposed to. I'm supposed to be able to go in and have congregate sessions with guys that is in segregation. That never happened. They didn't follow any of the HALT rules. Let's
Right.
put it that way.
Right,
So,
right.
but I kept going in because I thought I was doing a valuable service for the guys in there, and they took to the program.
Right.
So myself, Nan Haynes, and Colleen Christian from PPG
Right.
put together an op-ed when we found out.
Right.
See, we knew they were talking about building a jail, but they were further along than we thought.
Right.
So in the effort to address it, we wrote an op-ed to the community, for the community, letting them know why
Excellent.
we don't want this jail, why we don't need it. And as a result of that article, I was on my way, me and my wife on my way down to an advocacy day for communities, not cages, matter of fact, in Albany. And my supervisor calls me going off about the article. Now, in the article, I made no mention of my job, made no mention of my supervisor, anything about the programming that I was doing. I was speaking as a member of the advisory board who goes in there and does what I'm supposed to do. But obviously, the superintendent, the sheriff, and other officials at that facility were incensed that we wrote the article. And then they came down on the supervisor. So the supervisor calls me coming down on me. First of all, it was totally unprofessional. And second of all, what I did for my community as an advisory board member, as a deacon at my church, and as a board member of Voice, and all those other, as a co-director of HALT, what I did under those banners is my personal business. It has nothing to do with my job or my affiliation with it. And I was basically told that I violated something by writing this article, which I thought I had the right to free speech, whether even if I talked about the job, but I didn't, and that they were being held up and beaten up by these officials because I wrote or co-authored this article. And my supervisor is not somebody who I just work for. I had known this person for most of the time I've been in Buffalo, so I considered us friends. And she made it appear like my being involved with that writing was somehow compromising her position, their position, and I didn't see how that was relevant. And so I had to resign.
So I have to ask this as well. So we're talking about the what is called, it's, through the law that we have a Corrections Specialist Advisory Board.
Right.
So they are supposed to be specialists in the field.
Yes.
But I want to say there's also things about conflict of interest. So the person in question, as I understand, is also the chair of the advisory board.
Right, exactly.
So when your employment is dependent upon not making waves with the very thing that you're responsible for being a truth teller about, then that is a conflict of interest.
Exactly.
It's a clear conflict of interest. So anyway, I just want to say that we have not named a name, but I think the name is very easy to find. So
Well, I mean, this is not slanderous. This is
just
all
a fact.
facts. Yes,
It's just facts.
and the reason and the only reason why those facts were brought out is because the sheriff, during his testimony,
Right.
wanted to make himself out to be this self-righteous, upstanding, law-abiding, community-caring person. For somebody to say that and then to do what he did behind the scenes is incongruent, to say the least.
Right. So let's get back to you, Monica, and you were gonna, tell us a little bit about what you've observed, both in your brother's care and then in
My son.
your son, and is it both sons or a nephew?
Well, it had to do with both sons, but
Right,
one
with
is
both
there,
sons.
one is not.
Right. Okay. So please tell us how that's been for them.
Well, it's
In the
been
current.
almost 4 years since my brother passed in at the holding center. and it was within like a 12-hour period because he was a diabetic, and they just didn't want to give him the medical attention that was needed. And that was just to observe him. If you could not handle the situation within a 15-20 minute time period and get his sugar under control, you were supposed to send him out to a hospital.
Right.
So the correction board, they already said that that was against their rules and it violated everything they stood for and so forth. But somehow the nurse that was the head nurse at the time, she was led to believe that she was fired. That's what they told us in the newspapers and television and everything. But she's not. She's still an RN making money, and it's been 4 years. And you know, I'm very devastated
There?
because
Is she
of-
still there?
She's not there, but she
Oh,
still
okay.
have her license.
Oh,
and this
she
is
still has a
ridiculous.
license.
A person is dead.
Right.
And right before my brother, within 7 days, Joseph died. They just don't want to take accountability for anybody. I don't see how out of 35, 36 people, 18 of them can be 35 and under and dead. Those are healthy individuals. I don't care if they use a little bit of drugs, they were alcoholics or not. They
Right.
still healthy individuals.
Right.
Their livers and stuff are not gone.
Right.
And as far as my twins, I have 25-year-old twins
Right.
that have severe mental disabilities. And it seems like the DA and other people pick and choose who they want to evaluate and say that they are incompetent or have a disability. Now, when they were out in Cheektowaga a couple years ago, it was some people in a car coming from McDonald's, and they ran off the road when they were trying to get onto the 90. They hurried up and said, "Oh, this is a hate crime. These people are disabled. You can't run them off the road. You can't do this. We're going to charge you." Just last week, there was another individual beat with a 2x4 over there on Utica.
Right.
The person that beat him, he looks like he's an individual that have disabilities. However, the person that was injured, they said was incompetent and had disabilities. So what is the difference between my sons and all these other individuals? They have disabilities.
Right.
They have FAS, fetal alcohol syndrome,
Right, right.
mild MR, psychosis, and intermediate explosive disorder. Those things do not act together. They don't, like, it's not a puzzle that you put together and all of a sudden they're going to have this perfect life.
Right.
Actually, their life is going to be devastating for the rest of their life. Now, last week the sheriff was at the library and he commented on how he wanted this perfect vision of a new facility, and it was going to be this grand state-of-the-art 2021, you know, just a classic thing. But how can you have that when you have limited people that's going to the dentist? And I told him, my son put in the paper to go to the dentist.
Right.
And if you're on the outside and you go to the dentist and your wisdom tooth is infected or the nerve is, you know, out, you're going to maybe have a severe swelling of your jaw, or you can just be infected. Anything can happen.
You can die from
Exactly, because
infection
not
in your
being
mouth.
treated.
Yes.
And so he assured me that he would look up his name and that he would get him back into the dentist since it was open like that and do something. Here it is a week later. I went back to the sheriff's office just to check and verify. Okay,
Right.
did you do anything? The receptionist told me it's been sent in. He knows about it, but they didn't do anything but put like some putty in his mouth. Now,
No
out
help.
of those 400 people that's down there at the holding center, you do not have everybody going into the dentist every day. So I don't know why you wouldn't just pull the tooth and let it, you know, heal on its own or whatever, not get infected. That's just another sign that you're not treating the people as if they're human beings to me.
So if maybe some of that money of 200,
50 million.
oh, yeah, 250 million, how about having a good medical staff in there and good health care for people and
Well, even
dental
an
care?
X-ray machine.
Right.
A lot of those deaths were preventable. They claim
Right.
if they were preventable, what have you done from that time, from the last 17, 18 years? What have you done to prevent any death?
Right. Did they put in for any new
Nothing.
equipment? Did
Nothing.
they put in for
They
any
got new vehicles.
new vehicles.
Yeah.
Nothing like new medical staff. or
Property
And
over
new
people.
signs, yeah,
Right.
new signs,
Right.
Property over people.
Right.
Property over people.
overtime.
And I think most of the people listening to this show will know that there's been a death every 6 months in the Erie County Holding Center or Alden for the last, what is it? Since
15,
2009. Since 2009?
No,
Chuck?
2005.
2005. Since 2005, every 6 months, and that has continued with the new administration. It hasn't decreased at all. Back to the new sheriff. I mean, I think the other thing is, as you mentioned about the way he rehired
Tim Howard.
He also rehired him to do the one job that he should have done without getting paid, which is to consult on anything that you should have already left explained when you left the office, right? To answer questions about things that are not clear. And also to do the job of the pistol permits, and which he had already said that he won't enforce the SAFE Act to start with. So it's just going to be like rubber stamping them every one.
Right.
And he's getting paid for that. And that was the doing of Sheriff Garcia. But anyway, I want to, Chuck, if you want to talk a little bit about, a little more about those deaths and the lack of medical treatment and other treatment.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that emerges over time was that even when there was the medical examiner ruling in some cases that the people were died by homicide, even then there was no. I remember the one case of Mr. Metcalf.
Right.
Yeah.
Richard Metcalf.
Yeah, 35 years old, in good health, and they tied a, for whatever reason, a spit mask around his face, and then they knotted a pillowcase around his face and asphyxiated him, basically strangled him. The D.A. Flynn, I believe, sent the matter out of the county over a conflict of interest, some bullcrap, and they sent it down to, I believe, Cattaraugus.
Right.
And the district attorney there waited until the time
Statute
limit
of
for
limitations.
manslaughter.
Right.
Heaven forbid they should be tried for murder, and then conceded, say, well, no, it's too late. We can't do anything. You weren't going to do anything anyway, and so they're just watching each other's back.
Yeah.
I was disappointed too to see Letitia James, the state attorney general, in the
India Cummings.
India Cummings,
right.
India Cummings matter, do a 2-year investigation, and clearly she was abused and neglected, and and to find that nobody was at fault, there was no repercussions, no charges, no administrative sanctions against any of them.
From a broken arm.
Yes.
From in India's case.
No.
And the other thing that what the Department of Justice said that would shock the conscience.
Yes.
Yeah.
That it was medical maltreatment so bad that it would shock the conscience was their phrase. So I just I want to bring it back to needs assessment. What about all these things? A shiny new building is not going to help any of these things. None of them.
Well, let's be fair, because they're saying we're coaching this as just a shiny new building. This is corrections 2.0, where you're going to have all these programs and this reentry whole paradigm that they supposed to envisioned. But again, none of the community has been involved in it. So anything for us without us ain't really for us.
And beside the fact that if they showed an interest in these things, more of an interest in these things, I keep getting right in front of you, Chuck, I'm sorry. If they showed more of an interest in making these changes, then maybe back to what you said, Ronald, about trust. Maybe we could trust that, there's
They're gonna do
we
the
can
right
get
thing.
somewhere. But when it's just about rubber stamping what do they want, and when they want a capacity at twice the capacity. That is empire building in the and back. I want to go back to incarcerated workers.
Yeah.
Incarcerated workers. People are, if they're incarcerated, they're going to work when they're told to work. Do you get a choice?
No, not really. No.
What?
No. You have to. You have to work. That's what I'm saying.
So you have to work.
You don't necessarily get a choice because what do you have to choose from being a porter or working in the kitchen? Or, it's not like you have no real choices. And there's some things that they won't let you go through. I was part of a suit called Santiago versus Miles that proved unequivocally that there's even racism in prison in the hiring of jobs between incarcerated individuals. There were jobs in certain facilities that, as a black man, I could if I went to the program committee and said, "Yeah, I want to work on I want to be the gun tower porter," they would kick me. They would laugh me out of there because that's a job that I couldn't get. But Chuck could go in there and they would have the job reserved for him. This is what goes on. This is what goes on. And nobody wants see everybody's scared of discussing this racial issue. But the problem not you, no, I'm just saying. I said the problem why it continues the way it is because we refuse to discuss it and be honest conversation about it.
Right.
We refuse to have an honest conversation about that racism is what underpins all of this.
Absolutely. In the criminal justice system, and we've seen it back to racism and classism.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the poverty, either of those things are going to doom you I don't know what the success rate is for Erie County, but I'm going to guess that it's somewhere in the 97-98% rate of people are charged that are convicted. That people who are charged are convicted, because that's what now that is what we complain about in other countries and say, well, that's no kind of a criminal justice.
Yeah, there's no justice in that. No.
Right. And we know that, by the way, the holding center is been for people who are not convicted.
Yeah,
Yes.
my son's been there since
Convicted.
July.
Right.
It's going on a year.
They've used COVID to string it out. Now you end up doing your entire sentence before you even go to trial. Now just because they playing that game, but just think about it. The clarion call from the community to everybody now is the status quo has got to go.
Right.
We can't keep doing things the way we've been doing it when they've been failing.
So what we need to do is, first of all, we want people to come out on
Thursday, May 11th at the actual community town hall will start at 6:00. You can be there anytime before then at between 5 and 5:30. We have food for people.
Right.
You cannot take any food in the auditorium, so we ask you to come as early as you can, get your eat on, and then go in there. And we're going to have that place packed out with community members that care about the needs that we really have and don't need a new jail.
The Merriweather Library.
Yes.
Come out to the Merriweather Library Thursday, May 11th, 5 or 5:30. 6:00 is showtime.
Yes.
So come on out and be ready at 6:00, but come out early and have dinner.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
have your questions and everything ready because this is something for the community. Everybody needs to have their input, things you need to learn. You need to be there to listen for because you're not going to hear everything on the local news, and you shouldn't be expecting for us to knock on your door and tell you everything. You should be, concerned enough to know that your son, your daughter, even you may end up in one of these facilities.
Right.
So you don't want to be in that kind of situation. Everybody deserves better. They had programs and stuff 30 years ago, and they were working. Then all of a sudden, hands changed and things got cut off. So we need to ask those questions. Why did they change? Why there's no books or a library at the holding center, but there was something down at the correctional facility? We need to know Sheriff, you're saying that the people are coming into the facility and they can't read and write and all this stuff. Where's your programs? Why they don't have tutors? Why they don't have a GAD?
A gymnasium they don't even use.
People don't even know they have it. They go outside in a roof for recreation, and it's crazy.
And the officers use the gym, but
they're using the weights and equipment.
Really? Well, I also want to encourage people to contact your county legislator.
Yes.
Count,
yes.
And now I want to thank the county legislators for doing the right thing and not rubber stamping the request. They put in for a needs assessment. It's now limited to $750,000 for a needs assessment and a feasibility study.
So,
But we could still lose this.
no.
Because
We can, but let's
Yeah.
and you said it. Let's
That's why
give
we have
proper
to keep
credit where it's due too.
Oh yeah.
Chairwoman Baskin
Yes, she
and
did.
Public Safety Chair Howard Johnson were the two members who were instrumental in making sure that the community was heard. Before they allowed the community to sit at that hearing and testify, it was almost a rubber stamp deal.
Right.
So by them saying, all right, we'll listen to the community, I don't know what their minds were made up or not, but they said we'll at least listen.
And they did.
And they listened.
They did.
And not just they listened, it was a almost unanimous, if I can recall, vote to stave off the money and to go with what the community asked for, the needs assessment. So I want to give them perfect
Yes,
credit
yes,
because
me
they
too.
deserve it
Oh,
because
yeah.
I know that it was almost a done deal.
So I want to say it thrills my heart, and I called legislator April Baskin to thank her just so deeply because I called her a couple of times before, and I want to say we need to give thanks where it's due.
Right, credit
but
is
we
right.
also need to keep the pressure up and people need to get involved.
Yes.
Yeah, the
because
whole community,
it's
come
still,
out.
It's still we need. I mean, these things. It's back to there's an inertia to the way things are, and we need those changes. We know we are the most heavily incarcerated country in the world right now.
In the world.
So that's got to change. I mean, that so many.
It ain't
things.
working. It never
It's not
worked. It wasn't
working. It
intended to
doesn't
work.
And right.
It wasn't intended to work for us. It was intended to work for what the cause was because the system is not broken. It is working the way they designed
The
it.
prison industrial complex.
Yes.
Well, what I always call it, Fear Inc. gets all the money. So all the efforts to intimidate, control, incarcerate, or even kill gets all the money, and then the schools and other institutions
Can
can
I
have
also-
a great bake sale.
Can I also add
Go
something here
ahead.
because I don't want this to come out wrong because it seems like whenever we talk, they try to twist our words.
Okay.
This is not a us versus them situation. No. I want the community to see me,
Sure.
hear me say this.
Right, say
I,
it.
I've been the spokesperson for a lot of this, and I've come down hard on the other side for accountability purpose. But this is about the entire community. There are officers that work in that jail that are friends of mine. There are civilians that work in there that are friends of mine. I want
Absolutely.
them to be safe just like I want the people in there, friends of mine who are incarcerated, to be safe. This is not about castigating prison guards and jail guards against incarcerated people. It's not about castigating black and white. It's about what the community needs. The community needs money and resources to make the community better, to bring the crime rate down so we don't have to worry about no new jail. That's it.
Exactly.
And when people need to be locked up for their safety or for other people's safety, there's a whole array of people in different facilities that are in locked facilities for their safety. So, but it doesn't mean that that. First of all, lots of people can do a lot better in another environment that still might be locked, but it's not like all bars and clanging doors or something. You can still have a simple, a secure facility for people. So it's just about, and it's also about what works, what really helps people.
Yes.
When we look at recidivism, it's because this model is not working. Go
Can I
ahead,
say
Ronald.
something?
Yeah, please.
You had Hinckley. He shot the president, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't go to jail. He went to a mental institution. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, he shot the president. You got guys that do less than that get life sentences and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Well, back to
You know?
racism.
And
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So it's a cycle. It's something that they've been doing for a long time.
And that's why the status quo has got to go. We're not going to
Yes.
go for it no
Right,
more.
right.
And I know chances are in our lifetime we won't see the change that we're fomenting right now, but the change is coming. They need to get on board because this train is not stopping. We are not going to let you oppress our community, take resources out of our community, and then imprison our community and then treat them like animals. That scenario is played
They're
out.
supposed
Well,
to be
they're
working for
doing it.
us.
But they're actually doing it. They're doing it in the community. When you go up and down Jefferson and you see all of these lots and different things, when you
Yeah.
have only one supermarket,
Still.
but one plaza and no laundromat, you know, when you
Still.
got to go out of the community to resource anything, you're in jail yourself. So
Yes,
you
sir.
need to come out and speak with everybody else. This is for your benefit as well as all of ours.
Thursday,
May 11th.
May 11th,
6 p.m. Please be there. Listen,
5:30.
we saying this a community
Merriweather
gonna come
Library.
in. Yes, Merriweather
Library.
Right there on Jefferson and Utica. You can't miss it.
1324.
1324 Jefferson
Jefferson
Avenue.
and Utica.
Yeah, Jefferson and Utica.
Utica next to Apollo. Come
Yes,
out.
come out. See, we complain about stuff, but we don't show up to voice our complaints to the people who can do something about them, or to show up and say that we in solidarity with this because we have the same issue. And that's what we want. We complain about other issues, about other groups, or why they get this and that. That's because they show up en masse to demand what they need. We need to show up May 11th at 6 p.m. to demand that we get no new jail. But if you have money, like $250 million, we need to be dispersing that equally in the community. We need another suit. We need to end the food apartheid on the east side. We need some new stores. We need to end the housing crisis in this community. We need them lots to be filled with homes. We need to get some real. I got people who got drug addiction problems who want to go to rehab and they don't have a bed.
Yeah.
They want to stop.
We need
They're not.
to
Everybody's not a junkie. Some people want to stop, and they need help. And the only way they're gonna get help if you put a bed for them to get help in a situation where they get help, not a bed in the jail where they're gonna get jail help, which is no help for those issues.
So if we spend 50 million, I'm sorry, 50 million.
Million.
Spend 50 million on rehabbing the Erie County Holding Center into something reasonable. Give yourself a cafeteria.
1/5. That's 1/5 for what they was asking for, right?
Yeah.
That's 1/5.
1/5.
So now we
And
got
then use
200
the
million
other
more.
200 million.
There you go. What we doing with
let's
that?
For what the community needs.
Yes.
Can you imagine what you could refurbish for $50 million?
Yes. They could almost build a new jail.
Right. For
They
50,
go-
they
right.
can do a lot.
Right.
There's a lot that can be done and make it livable. I mean, that's a sick building is what I have. And they say parts of it are, so some parts of it are very antiquated. Some parts of it are not that antiquated.
So we have two
And they can be
suggestions that
remodeled.
we have two suggestions that the coalition of groups, it was 30 groups who signed on to this letter
Yeah.
and to this issue.
Including the Western New York Peace
Yes,
Center,
including
yeah.
what, and these 30 groups said that there should be other options. We have a former deputy commissioner, deputy superintendent of the correctional facility
Yes.
who worked there 30 years ago.
Reverend Pierce.
Yes, who said
Yep.
if it was if they upgraded the security of that, it is a brand new jail with all the amenities that they had 30 years ago. They could put in there now, that programming and all those things, and make it good.
They could.
And then we don't have to worry about this monstrosity downtown.
Thank
But let's
you,
say,
Reverend Pierce.
but let's say this: even if we wanted to use the downtown one, that 1937 number they keep throwing out is really is a joke. Because listen,
It's only part of it.
right.
Right.
See, numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the whole truth sometimes either. Because 1937 is not the only time that was building down there. 1985 they constructed a whole other part that they use now mostly.
Right.
They don't use the other part as
They
much.
don't need the other part.
Right. So why are you telling people that this is so? Anyway, tear that part down and make another part like you did the 1985 part, or refurbish it, or upgrade or whatever,
Right.
and you can have it right there. But we
Right.
don't need a new $250 million jail when we got 250 million reasons in our community that we have needs for other than that.
And you wouldn't
No.
even have to spend the $750 million because you could build it onto that. You know what I'm saying? Like, like refurbish the park.
So
Like
how,
you said, yeah.
so how people can help, come on out.
May 11th,
May 11th,
Thursday, next Thursday, a week from today.
Well, today when we're taping it.
Right,
A lot of
okay.
people hear this on Monday, too.
Okay,
so
wait, no,
whenever
no.
you're hearing it,
May
It's
11th.
Thursday, May 11th.
Right.
6 p.m., Merriweather Library. Come,
Meanwhile-
bring out somebody, bring your kids to eat. This is a community gathering. Come out and show community and demand what you think this community needs.
And call your legislators also.
Yes.
Call your legislators if you're coming or whether you're coming
Well, they're gonna be
or
there.
you're not coming.
Most of them are gonna be
But
there.
I'm just
They've been
gonna say,
invited.
either which way, so there'll be some people who can't come. If you can't come, be sure to contact them. If you're coming, contact them anyway. Let them know what you think.
Remember, the legislature is supposed to work for us. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's why we got to get used to putting people in office that are going to do what we desire, not what they want to do.
Right. Right.
And this is not your last time to be represented, but this is your time to show out because
Right.
the legislators do be meeting at 10 in the morning and 11 in the morning. Now
Right.
you can come out in the
Right.
evening and show that this is the reason we're not showing up. Your
Right.
time is not the same time that's
Right.
conducive to ours.
Right, because we did have 50 people on 10 o'clock on a what was it?
Thursday morning.
So,
Thursday
on a
morning.
Thursday morning, 10
Yes.
o'clock on
A
Thursday
rainy,
morning.
ugly
Yeah,
Thursday
yeah,
morning,
yeah.
and people
at the
came
last
out.
minute. too.
Yes, yes.
At the last minute, because
Yes.
people, and I think that's why they heard us.
Well, that's
Because
why.
they
That
know
is why.
people really feel strongly because this is definitely a bad idea. So no new jail, no new jail. So Chuck, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I just hope that the community comes together and that we can sustain the push to stop this. Since I think it's insanity,
And I want to just mention too, it's going to
Racist.
be the weekend before Remembrance Day weekend, or Remembrance Weekend of the massacre. So
Yes.
so it's not like we're not recognizing that. It's part of the same whole thing. And,
Yes.
the pursuit of truth that the Whitfield family put on. It's back to the racism that goes along with the wink and a nod in different places, and especially in places where the status quo is so ingrained.
I want to remind that community, that 14208 community that was devastated, of which I used that tops when it was before that. I want to remind them that this is an opportunity in your backyard to
Right.
come out and tell the powers that be what you really feel.
Right.
Myself and many of us here were out there protesting in front of this store,
Right.
and many of you came and said, thank you, that's, we don't want it open, we want a fitting memorial. And it's a year later, and not a ribbon cutting or a single brick has been laid on a memorial that's fitting for our community members who died, or a brick laid for a new store that would make it not the only one store in there, so that
Right.
some fool who wanted to do the same thing that coward did could do it today, tomorrow, or any day this week, because we only have one store still over there.
Same situation be
Yes,
repeated
okay.
again.
So I just want to say,
No.
we know racism. When Dr. King talked about the triple evils, racism was in there. Racism, poverty, and war and violence. So I just want to say, we're coming to a close time-wise. So I really couldn't be more grateful.
When you
have
talk
a
about
very short
right,
thought.
when you talk about war on money, look how much money they sent to
Ukraine.
Thank you.
Gazillions.
Well, the Western New York Peace Center is very involved in, back to how our issues are all connected. So that's
my
why
God,
I said
good point,
that
bro.
all the money that gets spent on
Billions.
the military,
No, the billions alone that they said.
$787 billion,
Billion.
and
for
every time.
somebody else's country.
Well, some of it for some, but also all our bases all over the world, all
But,
our
I'm just-
military aggression.
Oh
But
my
anyway,
God.
so there's a lot. That's why I said Fear Inc. gets all the money. The sheriff, all the people who are
The military industrial complex,
right,
all
the
of that.
prison
yeah.
industrial. So
I
anyway,
was a Marine.
right?
I know.
You know too. Yes, you know. I know you know. Thank God. Thank you for bringing it up. I just
Yes.
want to say to people, come out on Thursday. Let your legislators know if you don't want a new jail. We need to be vocal. So
And
bring signs if you have them too.
Yeah.
And there's signs. There's opportunity. So come on out. Also, there's the regular vigil at in front of the holding center every Wednesday from 4 to 5. Come out to that. So meanwhile, thank you all so much. I can't thank you enough for coming out, for speaking truth to power, and this is Talking Peace, and together we've been talking peace in truth and love. Thank you so much. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
There, before that thing goes off, we had one more minute. One more minute. That was a strong show. No, I love to talk about military cop. I mean, talk about it. And not only that, they can't pile it on fast enough. Because what the military asks for, then the president increases it, and then the Congress increases it still more. Because they just can't, and they just,
The equipment, the stuff they said.
and it's military aggression.
They probably
And
said
all
more
the-
than 50 billion over there. But
Well,
you know.
they 787 billion for our military effort, and that doesn't even include policing, the sheriff's department, all the other things that I said that Fear Inc. They get all the money.